Now you probably wondering, what happened to the old photo? And I'm gonna tell you the same shit that I said for Hellflame. I accidentally deleted it. Alright, now listen. Alright, I know you might be mad. You might have liked the old photo more than this. I personally like this one a little bit more because, it shows Deku for how I kind of want him to be in this what if a bit better. So I asked you guys, do you want him to be a hero, vigilante, or villain? It was pretty mixed crowds, honestly. Some of you said villain, some of you said vigilante, some of you said hero. So, since vigilante is just a mix between hero and villain, I'm going to make him a vigilante. But before you, go off to the comment sections and start writing me off like I'm, some sort of ignoramus, he's still going to go to UA. Alright, but he's still gonna be hanging around the League of Villains. Like, he's not gonna tell them any information. So if All For One's like, tell me where you're going next week, he's not gonna tell him. He's gonna be like, yeah, you do that with your UA spy. Don't do that with me. Deku won't know who the UA spy is because he doesn't have a reason to know. Like he's just there just to hang out with them because he has no issue with them. Because, they're basically family in a way. But, Inko is always like, what are you doing? Deku's like, I'm hanging out with friends. But so you guys, I asked last for a ship. Some of you said Toga, some of you said female Shigaraki, some of you said female Dabi, and honestly, I'm conflicted because all of them are actually pretty good. I thought about which one to do. Shit, is this low power? Yep, give me a second. So I thought about which one to do. Should I do female Shigaraki? Should I do Dabi? Should I do Toga? Should I do Mei Hatsume? Because some of you said that. Because I think for this one I said he's in the support course as well. If not, then no, I mixed up Negative Man. Alright, I mixed up Mr. Negative. Never mind. Throw the Mei Hatsume thing out of the window. That's for Mr. Negative, maybe, if you guys want, Mei Hatsume or Melissa or some shit. I don't know. But you guys are basically mostly for the villain chicks, so for my next villain, what if I'll make it Femme Dabi, but for this one, fuck it, female Shigaraki, because why not? That'll be a crazy mix-up. So yeah, if I said Shigaraki was a dude last episode, throw that out of the fucking window. Alright? You forget that. Just basically forget it. Like, my father did me. But, other than that, alright, let me stop, messing around. I'm actually, giving people flashbacks. But, so the way I'm gonna start this, alright, it's the beginning of the 10 months of training. He's at the villain base right now, He's drinking, because why won't he? So he's just drinking it up. He's drinking. Kirigi's like, why are you drinking so much? Did something happen? He's like, no. Why wouldn't I drink this much? And, basically, All For One's like, I didn't know my son was an alcoholic, And Deku's like, I didn't know my dad was a supervillain. He just chugs down a little bit more. He's like, oh, so that's what it was about. He's like, well, I mean, you get told one day that your dad, who used to breathe fire, is, the ultimate supervillain who can steal quirks and you have his power. Yeah, I mean, it takes you a bit to get used to it, too. And All For One is like, yeah, you know what, fair enough. You do you. So, Deku's drinking, and then Shigaraki, she comes down. She's like, Jesus, fucking drunkie, what the hell are you doing out here? And then he's like, oh, you're calling me a drunkie. And, she's like, yeah, what about it? He's like, alright, talk to me when you learn what chapsticks are. And she's like, the fuck did you just say to me? And he said, I said, talk to me when you get some chapsticks. Oh, crusty lips having that. She's like, what the hell, So they're having an argument now. He's like, who the hell are you calling crusty lips? He's like, I'm fucking talking about you. And, basically that's how this relationship's gonna go. It's a hate-love relationship. Notice how I said hate-love and not love-hate. But, yeah. So Deku, he's basically like, oh, I'm tired of it. I have training to do anyway. He's like, training or stealing quirks? Both. And then he just walks out. So Deku, he's training with the lightning quirk because that's what he's going to be using to get into UA. And he's also been, borrowing permanently quirks. But, he noticed something, right? basically, like, now whenever Deku starts taking, like, a lot more quirks, he gets, like, dreams of being the person who he took the quirk from. And he's like, what the fuck is going on with this? Like, why am I getting these fucking dreams? So he gets up one day and he's like, I'm gonna ask my dad about this. Maybe he knows something. So Deku, he basically, he's like, maybe I'm just feeling guilty for doing all this. You know, Deku's thinking, like, he's like, nah, because, like, most of his life he was quirkless. So at this point, he's mostly like, yeah, fuck everybody. So he goes up to All For One. He's like, yeah, this weird thing has been happening where I've been getting the dreams of people whose quirks I've stolen. I don't know what it is. And, you know, All For One explains, like, yeah, quirks basically, no matter what, they hold a fragment of, you know, the person who had the quirk before you. So if you steal too many quirks, eventually, you know, you'll get the memories and start even getting the personalities of people who you steal quirks from, because that is the thing about All For One. And, you know, Deku's like, what about since mine is a little bit different from yours? Will I get the same drawbacks? He's like, you probably won't get the personality thing, because I really don't feel like changing his personality. That's me talking. So he's like, you probably won't get the personality thing, but you most likely will still have the dreams and stuff like that. And Deku's like, alright, that's cool, I guess. So he just gets back to training, and, you know, he goes over to Dagobah Beach. He looks, and, you know, he sees this red-haired guy with, like, really spiky hair. And, you know, and then he sees, like, this skinny, scrawny-looking dude cleaning up the beach. He's like, huh, that's nice, I guess. And he was planning on cleaning up Dagobah Beach, so he's like, he's gonna check and make sure that they're gonna do the whole thing. Because if they're not gonna do the whole thing, then he's just gonna clean it up when they're done, the rest of it. So he walks up there, and, you know, All Might looks, and he's like, who the hell's that kid? But he gets this weird vibe from, you know, Midoriya that he can't describe. I don't know if he's met Deku already. If not, then. If he has, then. Like, either way, if he has met him, he forgot him. If he didn't meet him, then he remembers him, I guess. If he did meet him, then he remembers him. So he's like, hello there. And Deku's like, yo, are you guys planning on finishing cleaning up this place, or are you gonna, like, stop halfway? You know, All Might's like, oh, we plan on finishing, you know, cleaning up the whole thing. And Deku's like, good, alright. And, you know, All Might's like, if you don't mind me asking, why, were you asking? You know, Deku's like, well, if you weren't planning on finishing it up, then I probably would have cleaned it once you guys were done. I liked this beach as a kid, so we'll just say he liked the beach as a kid. So All Might's like, sorry. He's like, sorry about that. You know, basically he's like, well, I'm Toshinori Yagi. And, you know, Deku understands, like, this is All Might now, because his dad did tell him, like, yeah, All Might's real name is Toshinori Yagi. He's probably gonna look way different from what you imagine him to be if you see him as Toshinori Yagi, because he didn't really know about Small Might. I don't think he kind of knew about him, but not really. Because if he knew about Small Might, why didn't he attack, you know, surprise attack All Might when he was, you know, Small Might? So he doesn't really know about Small Might. So Deku's like, oh, nice to meet you. And he's like, and you are? He's like, my name's Kirishima. And Deku's like, oh, nice to meet you too. So, you know, he shakes hands with Kirishima. And then, you know, he shakes hands with All Might. But when he shakes hands with All Might, he's sucked into this fucking black void. And he's looking around, he's like, what the fuck? And, you know, this guy with white hair basically walks up to Deku. He's like, what are you doing here? Deku's like, I could ask you the same fucking question, you know. He's like, so who the hell are you? And, you know, the white hairs guy's like, Shigaraki, Izuku Shigaraki. Because remember what I said earlier in the last episode. So Deku's eyes widen. He's like, you're Izuku Shigaraki. And, you know, basically you know, he's like, yeah. Why the hell are you in One For All? You know, Deku's like, it's nice to meet you. I'm your nephew. Like, you know, he's like, I'm your nephew. And, you know, at this point, I'll just call him Shigaraki. Or, no, I'll call him One For All, because if his brother is All For One, he's One For All. So One For All, his eyes widen. He's like, wait, you're his, you know, Deku's like, yeah. He's like, what's your name then? He's like, Izuku Midoriya. He's like, Midoriya? He's like, yeah, it's in alias that he goes by. So he's like, wow, why did he name you after me? And then, Deku explains that, he does feel bad for what he did, because he now thinks back to it, and his dad thinks back to it and doesn't feel like he should have killed his brother off to further his own goals. He was just young and stupid, basically, which, he admits to. And for this one, just to make All For One not a dickhead, when Nana died, it was actually an accident, because, well, it wasn't like an accident. He was trying to defeat all Nana, but he killed her by accident. Like, he didn't mean to kill her. He just wanted to knock her out, basically, and subdue her, basically. And he would have tried to steal, One For All, which I'm not gonna spoil any comic or manga or anything, so you do that. You do you, boo-boo. So, he's like, so, wait, how did you even get in here? Well, and then, Deku explains that, well, he was shaking All Might's hand, and then he just got in here somehow. Basically after that, the other the other 6 show up, and they're like, you don't belong here. And then Deku's like, yeah, I know that, I kind of just appeared in here. And, Deku's like, well, I'm guessing you guys are the ones who came after him. And then they're like, a few of them are looking at him with slight scowls, and, some don't really care. Others, like, are surprised that, All For One had a son. So Deku's like, I can sense a lot of hostility coming off a few of you guys. He looks towards some of them. He's like, listen, alright, I'm not my dad, and, my dad's not me, so don't blame me for the sins of the father, alright? Basically, they realize, it would kind of be a dick move for them to blame Deku. Alright, like I was saying before I was really interrupted, it would kind of be a dick move for them to blame Deku for, what his father did. And, Nana even knows that she was killed on accident. So she was like, so, do you steal, like, I'm guessing that your ability is to steal quirks if you got in here. And Deku's like, but I didn't try to steal All Might's quirk. Like, he's like, I really don't care about having One For All at all. Because he can steal it easier than All For One could, if All For One could, even. I don't even know what's it called. But he can steal One For All. Don't get me wrong here. He can. And don't be dropping manga spoilers, because I know about the manga, so I'm just trying to protect these little snots who don't. So don't be dropping no manga spoilers or anything like that. And if you will drop manga spoilers, just leave like a spoiler warning and then scroll down a lot. So, yeah, he's like, yeah, but I really don't care about having One For All. And, this surprises a few of them. He's like, so they're like, what, you think you're too good for it or something? He's like, no, I just don't want the quirk. Like, he's like, do you want me to steal it? Like he's confused now. He's like, I can steal it if you want. I mean, it's not that hard. And a few of them take this as a challenge, then One For All, he's like, all right, let's chill out before we have to fight my nephew. He's like, that's gonna have to take some getting used to. He's like, so do you like they can see from All Might's eyes, basically, so they know that Kirishima's the next successor. So he's like, so what, are you gonna be like the new All For One to his, One For All, or to his All Might? Deku's like, nah, I don't really care too much. I mean, yeah, I visit my dad all the time, we talk all the time, which pisses off a few people, but he's basically like, yeah, I talk to him, but I don't give him information about what I do or what the school would do if I get into UA. But he's like, so are you gonna tell them your quirk? And Deku laughs. He's like, God, no. You know how much issues that would cause me? Like, you know how many people would be on my ass for no reason? Like, I mean, he's like, I mean, they can't arrest me, but it would just cause issues in the future, and issues for my mom more. He's like, yeah, you're right there. So he's like, so what are you gonna do? He's like, oh, simple. Use a bunch of lightning quirks that I combined to make a super strong lightning quirk and claim it as my quirk. And, basically, what's it called? One For All is like, not too bad of an idea, but why a lightning quirk? He's like, oh, just to go back to my roots. And, he shows off the black and red lightning, and, a few of them get on guard immediately after seeing it. He's like, don't worry, it's lightning that I can shoot. So, he shoots lightning in, like, a random direction in the darkness. And, basically he's like, so how do I leave this place, And then he's like, don't worry, I'll kick you out. And Deku's like, will that hurt me? And he's like, shit if I know. He just kicks Deku out. Deku feels like a slight, like, pain in his, like, right hand after shaking All Might's hand, and All Might feels that same pain. He's like, what the hell was that? He's like, yeah, my quirk malfunctioned, sorry. It was basically like, imagine holding a joy buzzer, but for All Might and Kirishima happened in an instant. For Deku, he had a long conversation with his uncle, because, he did tell him about everything, and about how his life is, and stuff like that. And he did tell him about how, basically his dad adopted this chick, not really adopted, but more like, took her in and made sure she had a home. Basically adopted, but, under no legal, papers, because we're not trying to have a Sweet Home Alabama song here. So, basically after that, he's like, yeah, she's a handful. And then, one for all laughs, he's like, alright, yeah, well, and then he gets kicked out after that. So Deku's like, well, I hope you guys have fun cleaning up this place. If you need any help, tell me. But, I guess I'll just go to the gym. So Deku, he heads for the gym and he starts working out, because, yeah, he has a few enhancement quirks, but he's not really trying to rely on quirks too much, because, there are quirks that erase quirks, or could even remove quirks permanently, because he thinks about the fact that if All for One can steal quirks and One for All passes down quirks, what says that there's not a quirk that permanently erases quirks? So, Deku is just thinking smart. But, he's not going to run into anyone like that for a while. So Deku, he's training, and then, he gets finished. He heads back to the bar. He's like, yo, I'm back. Then Kurogiri is like, oh, welcome back, little boss. Basically, Deku's like, don't call me that. Just Izuku is fine, And then, what's it called? Just Izuku. So, Deku, he's walking, and, he's noticing that, some of his stuff that he leaves in there is, like, moved around more. And, he notices that fucking his PS4, well, no, his PS5, alright, it's not in his room. And he's like, okay, what the fuck is this? So he looks around, he's like, where the fuck is it? Like, what the fuck? Because, that shit's fresh. So he's like, what the fuck, where the fuck is it? I swear to God. He's like, I swear to God, if it's who I think it is, he just hears, God damn it, if you guys don't, fucking watch behind us, like, he just hears that, he's like, that son of a bitch, and then he busts through the door, he's like, you like, he knocks on the door, he's like, you bastard, you better give me back my shit, or I swear to God, I will get all the hands that's off of your dumb costume and smack you with them all, Tomura, she's like, no, fucking, I'm trying to play the game right now. Deku's just arguing with her at this point. All for One, he's laughing, because this is the funniest shit he's seen in a long time. Basically, Kurogiri's like, wow, they're nagging each other like siblings. He's like, yeah, but they don't really see each other as siblings anymore. And the more I do this, the more I feel like I should switch up the ship. Fuck. But, what am I gonna do? Alright. Perfect. Character building time. So basically, All for One's like, hey, I need you guys to do something. He calls them all into the office. Deku doesn't think it's about him, but he also gets called in. He's like, what the hell? He tells, yawn. Alright, he tells Shigaraki and Deku that he has a mission for them. Deku's like, I don't do your missions. I'm not a part of your, LOV. Deku's like, I'm not a part of the love, alright? And she's, Shigaraki, she's like, what the hell did you just call it? He's like, the love, right? That's what you guys call yourself? She's like, the LOV. It's like, yeah, I said that, love. Like, LOV. And he's like, love. And, now they're arguing about that. He's like, gosh, you two argue all the time. He's like, listen, all right, this isn't a mission for the LOV. I'm just trying to tell you guys to go get fucking groceries. Deku's like, okay, but why me? He's like, because you're my son. And then Shigaraki's like, okay, but why me? Because I took you in. And, they can't really say anything because he's right. So they're like, fine, but Deku's like, after I get the groceries for you, I have to get groceries for, mom, so Shigaraki's like, I'll help you with that too, I guess, because she has nothing better to do, because, the PS4 broke, the PS5 broke, and, Deku was pissed, but he didn't really care too much, because he was like, you're paying for that shit, and, All For One was like, you are, So, they go out, they buy a new PS5, because, Shigaraki had to decay that shit like an idiot. And then they buy the groceries, they head back, Deku puts a PS5 in his room, and it's like, if you touch it again without my permission, then I'm gonna be pissed. And she's like, what about with permission? And he's like, that'll be fine, because, he's not gonna be there all the time. He's like, just make a side account, don't use my account, So, if you're wondering what Deku's online name is, I don't know, All For One Secret Love Child 123. But no. Deku, he's like, alright, well, we got the groceries for that, but now I need to go get my mom's groceries. So they go out, they're talking. So he's like, so tell me about yourself, because they don't talk about themselves. He's like, so how did, you go meet my basically meet my dad? She's like, yeah, well, I was basically on the streets after getting abandoned. I don't know if she remembers all that, because basically, I know that she remembers, Shigaraki remembers being taken in by All For One, but I don't know if he remembers, basically getting abandoned. But he's like, as long as I can remember, I was, an orphan, she's just talking about her sad sob backstory. He was like, damn, that shit's sad. He's like, yeah, I know. So, while they're, basically in the, where you put it on the thing, it's, I don't know, where they scan it, basically. While they're there and, they're waiting for their turn, Deku looks to his left and he sees something that he realizes, he needs to get for Shigaraki. So he grabs, 5 of them bitches, and, he pockets them for now. When Shigaraki gets, the groceries and he's like, go ahead without me, I need to buy a bit of stuff. So, Shigaraki's like, okay, So, Deku's like, I need to buy all 5 of these. They're like, okay, he buys them. He heads inside, He goes to the car, because I'm pretty sure Shigaraki can drive, and Deku's about to be in the entrance exam, so he can drive too. So he drives, because Shigaraki can't have a license, because Shigaraki's trying to be secret. So he drives, and then he's like, oh, by the way, I got you something, He grabs, something out of his pocket. He hands her a lip balm, and then she looks at him like, did you really just buy me lip balm? He's like, you need it, trust me. And then she basically, grits her teeth like, if this is a fucking joke. He's like, no, I mean, you just need it, in general. She's like, what do you mean? He's like, you're not gonna get a boyfriend with crusty, dusty lips. I'm sorry. Your quirk is to decay stuff, but your lips shouldn't match. He makes a joke there, but he's like, other than that, seriously though, you need to get your shit together. So she's like, fine. And he's like, also, get some sun for Christ's sake. You're pale as shit. What are you, a vampire? And, he's basically scolding her on how she stays inside all the time for no reason. Which All For One has told her the same shit. And, she adamantly tells him how All For One has told her the same shit. And Deku's like, if 2 people are telling you the same thing, then, they're probably not lying. So, she puts this into her mind. And she's like, it doesn't matter either way. It's not like I'm getting a boyfriend as a fucking villain. Deku's like, yeah, sure. But I bet you look better with, without crusty lips. So, she's like, yeah, whatever. She just snatches it. So, she brings down the mirror thing that's on the top, She puts on the lip balm. Immediately, Deku sees, it's way better. He's like, that's so much better. I can't believe it. You look like a whole different woman now. She's like, really? And you're like, yeah, you look way better. And that happens, just small conversations and stuff like that. Then they get there, Quirk is like, holy shit, is that lip balm? Is she actually using lip balm? And Deku's like, yeah, I know. Like, surprised me too. And then, now she's slightly annoyed. But he's like, you don't know how long I've been trying to make her, put that shit on. What did you even do? Like, did you force her? He's like, to be honest, I don't even care if you did. She's like, what? At this point, she's angry. So she's like, either way, I'm going to my room. I'm tired of this shit. So Deku brings the groceries to his house. He just drove there to drop her off. So he drops her off. Oh, he drops her off and then goes to Inko. He's like, I got the groceries, blah, blah, blah. He gives her he basically puts the groceries on the fridge, what he needs to do. He just does all the chores that he needs to do. And he's like, well, I got a little bit more training to do before it gets dark. So she's like, all right, he goes trains. And that's basically his 10 months the entire time. Going out to get groceries, Shigaraki, they become way closer. Just stuff like that. So I'm going to do the entrance exam and then I'm going to end it. So, yeah. So Deku's like, wish me luck on the entrance exam, stuff like that. So Deku's like, hopefully your UA, trader gets in there. He knows who the UA trader is. And, the UA trader does know him. But he isn't really going to tell anyone because he doesn't have a reason to, tell the heroes his business. He's basically getting a hero license just because he's bored. Plus he feels like it'll be a fun year to be in Class 1A. So, Deku after that, he heads there. He doesn't trip because he's not excited to be at UA like crazy. Like, he honestly could have gone to any high school or college. He could have gone to any college and still have, felt the same about it. So, he gets in there. He does the written test. He does pretty well because he has, intelligence quirks. So he does, really well on it. Almost beating, basically beats Momo's pretty easily. Almost, ties with Nezu in IQ. Which, throws Nezu off because he's like, this kid doesn't even have an intelligence quirk. Which makes him, one of the smartest people ever. Since he's close to Nezu. So Nezu's like, alright, this kid, I'll watch out for him. He's pretty smart, stuff like that. And, then it gets to the, the 0-pointer and stuff like that. So they're basically, explaining the robots. Ida does his whole, I'm very disappointed in UA for not knowing about this 0-pointer, blah, 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 blah. Then, Deku is like, you should let them explain, basically, you should let them explain. If they explain, then maybe you'd understand. And then, so they explain after that, yeah, we were gonna explain it, blah, blah, blah. This is what the 0-pointer does, all that stuff. So Deku, he gets out there. He doesn't have a reason to talk to Araka, but he goes to walk to the front. Ida stops him, you were gonna talk to that girl. Deku, looks at Ida, he's like, I don't know who she is, and I just wanted to get to the front. So, Ida, how do I know you're telling the truth? And Deku's like, I don't really have a reason to lie to you, because I don't know you, So Deku just gets Ida's hand off his shoulder, starts walking to the front and just starts stretching. So he's, cracking his neck, cracking his fingers, stuff like that. So then after he gets ready, I'm sorry, it's late, so if this video sounds like it's dead as hell, it's already 2 a.m. and I'm really tired. But, so, back at the starting point, I'll try to be more excited. Alright. Sorry, that was me slapping my face. Alright, so Deku, after that, he's fighting some robots, he's throwing lightning, just, basically, remember how Endeavor threw javelins? He's just doing that, but with lightning. He's zapping them, short-circuiting them, all that shit. Basically doing all the things he can do. And he can turn into lightning and, just, lightning, step, basically. So he gets into a stance where he's, basically kneeling. And then, he closes his eyes and then just, runs at top speeds and just starts going through robots. This takes, full concentration, so I stole that from Demon Slayer. But, it's just his full concentration, lightning flashes. So, he does that. Deku gets like already like 30 points off rip. And he's just doing like all this from like the whole time. And then the 0-pointer shows up, right? And Uraka still gets stuck under the rubble. And Deku's like, alright, well, he just grabs like a piece of lightning and he throws it into the air, right? And everybody's confused on why he threw it into the air. And Deku is a big fan of Naruto, because why the fuck not? So he puts his hand in the air, he's like, be gone with the thunderclap. And he throws his hand down. This red and black lightning dragon just comes down from the sky and slams down on the 0-pointer. The 0-pointer, like, each, like nut and bolt is, like, coming out now. Deku grabs Uraka and then just dips, basically, puts her down and, looks away. And then there's a big-ass explosion, which, he's like, I call that, reverse Kirin. Because why not call it reverse Kirin? Because it's like the reverse colors and stuff. So it's the reverse Kirin, and he likes it. He's trying not to get sued by the guy who made Naruto, though. So that's why he called it reverse. If that even helps him. But Deku's like, yeah, I hope you're all right, and I hope to see you in class 1A. And he just heads off. Uraka. Jesus, I'm tired. Uraka, she's like, wait, what's your name? He's like Izuku Midoriya. And he walks off. Basically, he gets to the villain hideout. He's like, yo, I did the test. And Kurogiri's like, yeah, I basically teleported us all to where we could watch. That last move was pretty awesome. That last move was pretty awesome. Shigaraki said that, Kurogiri's like, that was very impressive. Because, Shigaraki's like, wasn't that one move that, Sasuke did, basically, because she's a weeb. So he's like, yeah, it was. What's it called? You inspired me to make that one up since you never stopped talking about that fucking emo. And she's like, he's not emo, he's awesome. He's like, yeah, sure, he's fucking emo. But, Deku basically walks off. He's like, but it was a badass move. He walks off. All for One's like, I didn't even get to congratulate him. He didn't even want my congrats. And he's like, by the way, Dad, I'm pretty sure I got in. He walks away. All for One's like, oh, well, good for you. He's like, well, I guess I'm not Father of the Year. Because, Deku basically didn't really care if he told his dad or not. He just did it out of common courtesy. So, Deku, he got home, he told his mom. His mom was super happy. She cried. She was like, oh, I'm pretty, like, you're sure you got in? Stuff like that. She was worried. But, Deku, a few weeks later, Deku gets his acceptance letter. You won by first place, yada, yada, yada. And then Deku's like, ooh, he tells his mom. They celebrate. Deku, he's like, I'm gonna go just to tell my friends that I was training with. Inko's like, okay, because she just thinks that, he's growing up and has a lot of friends. So Deku goes, outside, and he just teleports immediately there. He's like, I got in first place, and, they're like, good shit, they're just congratulating him. And Deku's like, I appreciate it, you guys, stuff like that. So, right now, this is where I'll leave it off. If you guys want, a part 3, please tell me. If you guys don't, then sorry. And, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.